So Chris Bougere back here. Obviously, you might know me from food restaurant. If you don't, get down there, come to the restaurant, have some dinner, take your wife out for goodness sakes, while your contractor's doing some work even in your house. But I also am proud to say that Derryl Theissen here from My Place Renovation, Construction and Design is our renovator. Not only here at the restaurant, which in some future videos we'll show you some things that he's done here, but also he's getting ready to do some renovations in my home because of the great job and the relationship that we've built because of a referral that happened earlier. So Derryl, welcome back. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
Now we're going to we've been counting down here over the days of the top 10 reasons, and now we're down. This is it. This is the biggest thing. If you could just know one thing before hiring a contractor or starting your own renovation project, this would be it. So I'm going to pretend I'm doing a drum roll.
The number one issue to be aware of before you hire a contractor, start your renovation, is, it's no surprise, get a detailed, realistic, all-inclusive budget before starting any work at all.
Okay. Now, does he or she do the budget, the contractor, or they work with me? How does it happen?
You should ask your contractor. If you've got a budget, look at the line items. Make sure that you've thought of everything. In the pricing, there should be a line item for permits. There should be a line item for garbage removal. There should be a line item for moldings, the finish work.
Oh.
Everything from A to Z. You know,
right.
Because often people are thinking, okay, I'm going to tear that wall down and rebuild it, but they forgot to think about the costs for removing the material off-site. Forgot to think about the contractor has to go shopping for my new materials. He's going to be a charge for pickup and delivery.
Right.
So all these things should be included in your budget. Are there insurance costs that you need to think about? Maybe there's upgraded insurance that you need to cover the scope of the work, or maybe that's already covered in your insurance package.
But find out, right?
But just ask all the questions, make sure that everything is covered. And are you managing the project, or is your contractor managing the project? There'd be a management fee in there.
And what do you recommend?
Exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
So, if you work together with a contractor who has done this many times, they will have an exhaustive list of all of the categories that you should consider, whether you're going to be spending money in that category or not. Because often the project looks really small, but when you add up all the categories, you have to include all those costs, and it's generally more than expected. So you hear people say, oh, renovations always cost more than you think. That's because they didn't start with an exhaustive line-by-line budget.
Right. So if I'm hey, I'm gonna do my new kitchen or whatever, right? I want to get a contractor in there, and basically, if we go everything, and again, he or she's gonna know more than I'm gonna know, right? I'm gonna see like, oh, this is the color of wood I want on my cabinets, right? That's gonna be the extent of what I understand. But there's gonna be things that I don't know or don't understand, and I obviously want to have that person with me as my trusted advisor, right, to be able to talk me through that. And again, I can't even, obviously, the stories that we hear about budgets being blown and timelines being overrun is more so than anything else.
Yes.
Rarely do you hear, oh, it was within budget and on time, what?
Yes.
Did hell freeze over? What happened? I can't believe it, right?
Yeah.
So basically, the advice to people is get someone in there who knows and knows and knows, right? And then the budget, should there be any kind of like, hey, listen, if the project is, I don't know, $20,000, let's say, to do your kitchen, right? Should there be some kind of a plan, like, hey, if we didn't see this or that didn't happen, should there be some kind of buffer zone that both people get to agree on? Like, how does something like that work?
Yes, and with new construction, you really don't have a lot of surprises. But when you're doing renovations, you don't know what's behind that wall.
Right.
You don't know if there's other wires that you cannot see. You don't know if there's rot. You don't know if all of a sudden you run into a structural issue. So you do have to have a contingency, and I always give my clients a contingency fund where we say, look, if we don't need it, great, but here's what we need to put in, because inevitably we find stuff that we didn't anticipate. Right. Because it's a renovation. We won't know till we've done all of the demolition exactly what we're going to run into. Right.
So there's surprises in life that people love, and there's surprises in people that they don't necessarily love, but you put a contingency in place to kind of guard against that shock factor, or the disbelief, or you know, oh, this is going to cost me this much more money now. You kind of
Yeah.
build it in. So, I mean, basically what you're talking about is almost like a painless way, because people want to know, right? They want to know going forward, hey, it's going to cost $20,000 or $22,000, fine. And if it's going to be done in 6 weeks, awesome. But if it takes 12 weeks and costs $40,000, now I got a problem,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
So basically, the number one tip, suggestion, mistake that people should avoid, thing that they should know is take an exhaustive time to make an exhaustive budget so that you can go forward educated, with the most education, right, and really be able to see the project through and know that what you expect is what the contractor expects, and you are singing off the same song sheet.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's a great one, because obviously
it's the biggest one, really.
We all have stories of, and know people, obviously. Hopefully it hasn't happened to us yet.
Yeah.
And you know, now that we've seen these videos, they won't happen to us.
Yeah.
So that I really appreciate your time on all these videos, Derryl. It's been super illuminating on what people need to know, what I need to know and didn't know. Over the course of time here, you know, people obviously got to know your face a little bit, and I want them to feel comfortable to call you and ask you any questions, just like I've had time to ask you about my renovations here at the restaurant and at home. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to be able to talk to you about a project that they might want to get started?
Well, give me a call, 880-4682. You can go to my website at renovatemyplace.ca. My email address is on there, Derryl@renovatemyplace, and I'd be happy to come and look at your project, give you a consultation, go through the scope of work to make sure that your expectations, you know, are realistic, that the work can be done that you're asking, and that it can be done within the budget that you're thinking.
Now, and that's I mean, obviously, and would it be fair to say, and I know we've talked about the top 10 things, would it be fair to say that sometimes, like, and again, we don't, I mean, I'm Joe Public, I don't know, right? How often, let's say out of 10 times, right, someone says to you, hey, I want to renovate their bathroom, how many times do they come to you with a price that is maybe not as realistic as what they're hoping for?
Well, that's the point I think that you need to realize, is that you probably underestimated the scope of work and the cost of the renovation.
Now,
but my point is, hopefully by the time you start the work, you agree. So at least you know you've got the money in the bank to pay for the renovation or the line of credit.
Right.
So that it's not at the end of the project that you find out that you were way off in your initial expectations.
Right. Now, is there any way, just and maybe we'll talk about it on some future videos, we'll make a promise here that we'll talk a little bit about ballparking figures and kind of basic kind of pricing for, you know, the big ones, bathrooms, basements, kitchens.
Yeah.
So we're going to come to you, keep an eye on your emails or your YouTubes or your interwebs, and we'll come back to you with some videos on some of the things that you can expect cost-wise, and maybe where people don't necessarily think of, and where the under-budgeting comes from.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Derryl, for your time. If you want to get a hold of Derryl and ask him any questions or get him to do a site evaluation, please contact him at renovatemyplace.ca or the phone number 204. You've got to dial that now, 880-4682. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.